Welcome everyone to today's podcast. Our title is How to Navigate Through Difficult Times. There's an Indian astrologer, his name is Abhignya Anand, and he was the one who projected that the pandemic would take a strong grip on our world. And he's predicting from November 2021 to April of 2022 that these few months are going to be quite difficult for people globally. No one will escape. And so I just thought, wow, when I was thinking about his predictions, what can we do as individuals to create a more peaceful and successful life? How do we navigate through those difficult times if they hit us? Yeah. So the first thing I thought about that I would like to discuss today is having faith. When we are hit with difficult times, well, first of all, why don't we discuss what difficult times could hit us? So, for example, maybe we lose money somehow or other, or we lose our jobs, or maybe there's a death in the family, right? Or maybe our dog gets sick, or what else? What other things could happen to humans, Raj and Marion?
When I think of difficult times, it's a very subjective thing, because what could be a difficult thing for one person doesn't necessarily need to be a difficult thing for somebody else. Mm-hmm. And there are so many situations. I always use our emotional guidance system as an indicator whether or not you're experiencing difficult times, because if you're not feeling well, if you feel anxious, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel frustrated, if you feel certain emotions, then that's an indication that there is something going on that you're experiencing in your perception difficult times. So I always feel that it's important to kind of to separate those, because what somebody might experience in their own world as a difficult time could be for somebody else that is listening to it like, oh, what's the big deal? I've had that and more. And it's really not about that comparison. It's about how are we individually perceiving what is happening. And I think coming from that starting point is always the right starting point, because ultimately we have to navigate through our own emotions and our own situations. And so I love the topic of how can we go about that, and maybe giving a bit of guidance as to how you could be navigating through that if you're experiencing some of those feelings.
Mm-hmm. So my thought is that we need to have faith first. We need to have faith in ourselves. We need to have faith in the people around us, our family members, maybe our bosses at work, our colleagues, and definitely we need to have faith in God. That to me is number one, because if we're going through difficult times, and you're right, Marion, what's difficult for one person may not be difficult for the other. So whatever your difficulty is, how can you overcome those? And I believe that through deep prayer, through meditation, and just having great faith that in the end everything is going to be okay, right? Because when people go into difficult times, their energy goes down, they start to not believe in themselves and others, and they get depressed. And we've seen in the last couple of years how much depression there is. It's become a pandemic, an epidemic of mental health issues. Yeah. So it's so vitally important that we feel inside ourselves that we can navigate through difficult times, that we can. And so here's a belief system I would like to suggest that all of us embrace. And here it is. I, and your name, write your name, now have great faith in my own loving nature. And thus, my future is peaceful and successful. So if we have great faith in our own loving nature, right, in our God self, or our genuine, heartfelt self, if we have faith in that, then gosh, I think humans can accomplish anything. Yeah. So that's why I wrote this belief system. I now have great faith in my own loving nature, and thus my future is peaceful. You see, I've got that uh, little peace stocking on our fireplace there. I believe everybody wants to have peace and love in their lives. That's and joy. That's what people want, right? So if we can believe that our future is going to be peaceful, if we can believe that our future is going to be successful, we can create that.
The belief is the key. Like Betska, listening to you, and I think when we're talking about faith, the foundation has to be that belief, right? That we have to feel it. We can't just say it, but we have to embody it and really believe it. And perhaps one thing that might help is to look back at other difficult times that you've had in your life, and how you've overcome them, and maybe how hopeless you were at that moment, or how fearful you were, or how anxious, or whatever experiences you had, and ultimately when you fast forward, how you came out of them, and that we're here and we have come to the other side, and that belief that we will come to the other side will carry us through. So perhaps looking at the evidence from previous experiences that have shown we have gotten through, and then using that language, Betska, that you were suggesting to help us along in that journey. Because no doubt about it, difficult times are usually not fun. They're not, they're requiring a lot of strength, a lot of believing it before we see it. And that perhaps could be the one of the more challenging parts that we need to navigate ourselves through.
And
That's a really good idea, is looking
one
at
important
past.
point,
Yeah.
one important point I'm adding you. Once the difficult time comes in our life, so the main thing is we forget and looking forward attitude is very important, because I have seen a lot of people, they always count that thing has gone. A better we take positive attitude and looking forward what we can do best. The past has gone. We cannot repair our house, we cannot repair our roads if something happened in a disaster way. Now what we can create, this is the major important issue. And positive mindset and the mental fitness, mentally fitness is, because some people feel very nervous, some people will feel very they feel mental trauma also, so they need healing. Mental healing is also requirement. Some people are very sensitive, like old people, like children, like some women, they are very sensitive, so they have like big trauma. So we require and need to pamper and take care of these people also. This is important things in this faith. Faith will come once we will mentally fit. Otherwise,
Yes.
faith.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what I would suggest to our viewers here is that this belief system that I just wrote out, and write your name, now have great faith in my own loving nature. If you want to say God, you can also say that. And thus my future is peaceful and successful. So how do you change that mindset? We've talked about this many times. I'm going to give our podcasters, our viewers, a very simple exercise. You can close your eyes. Don't need to do it now, but afterwards, close your eyes, and in your wisdom eye here, see a beautiful pink rose or a pink lotus flower. And when you look inside there, look inside that lotus or look inside that rose, and what positive symbol, object, color, feeling, or sound comes to mind. And once you get it, you know that that belief system is now in yourself. See, permanent positive change doesn't come by talking about it. We need to actually put it. We need to teach ourselves how to think positively. So that little exercise will do that for you. The other thing, that's the first and most important thing, but there are other things that we could do to have faith. And I'm just going to give four thoughts here. That Raj is so right when he said we have to have that positive mindset. So what happens when you have a negative thought come in? What are you going to do with it? Yeah. So here are four simple things that you can do. Number one, I always imagine that I have a favorite mountain. So you can figure out you have a favorite mountain in the Himalayas or in the Rocky Mountains in Canada, the US, whatever your mountain range is. And imagine you're throwing your negative thought into that mountain, that it's leaving you. And in its place in your body is a positive thought. That's number one. That really works well. Number two, when we have a negative thought about someone else, then we need to break that psychic energy. So over the holidays and in the new year, you know, if you're fighting with someone or if you have a disagreement, that means you're in that person's negative energy field. You don't want to be there because you're going to take on that negative energy. So what you want to do is you go to your kitchen, you put lemon juice and sea salt, and you rub, and then wash your hands and shake your hands, 18, 20 times, because you want to break that psychic energy. You don't want their energy to influence your physical body and your mind, right? Need to keep yourself clean. The third thing that our viewers could do to stay positive is to think about the event. Whatever's just happened that has thrown you, made you go down and think, I attracted this for a reason. What am I learning here? I'm wanting on some level, on a spiritual level, I'm wanting to go through this difficult time. What am I learning? That is really powerful for personal transformation. And then the fourth thing that we could do is sit back and think, all right, I'm letting this negative world affect me. What can I do? So you write down, what can I let go of? What attachments do I have to people, places, and things that I need to let go of? Write it down. And whatever you want to let go of, throw it back into that mountain that I talked about. So there you have it. That's my experience over 25 years of how to turn a negative thought into a positive one. But today it's more about faith, right? When we have a negative thought, it means we're losing faith, you see?
Those are great points, Betska. I actually have two more that have helped me. And one is when I'm in difficult times and I feel like all control is lost and I'm almost in this, what could be perceived as a victim role, what's happening to me, what's going on in my environment, to focus in on what is actually still in my control, because it makes me feel more confident. It makes me feel like not everything has been lost, but it puts me back into the driver's seat and into a mindset of I am creating a reality. I'm creating a life that I want. And even though it might not be what I want right now, but without me co-creating this life, it probably won't look anything like what I am envisioning. So imagining and really visualizing what are the things that I have control. And you'd be surprised, sometimes you're finding more things that you still are in control than you give yourself credit for, or you get so caught up in the things that you can control that you really don't even think about what is still in your control and what you can do to move yourself slowly, step by step, into a better place. That's one. The other thing that you spoke about, Betska, was negative thoughts. And I love the distinction between negative thoughts and negative thinking, because I believe we all have negative thoughts at some time or other. We cannot get rid of negative thoughts. And I think it'd be kind of silly to think that we can. But what we can do is the power of decision. We can decide whether or not we're starting to dwell on that thought, which then in turn turns into negative thinking. And negative thinking will never get us to the place where we need to be, we want to be, or where any opportunity and possibility lies. So having that negative thought, acknowledging the negative thought, and then either throwing it into the mountain as you have a suggestion, or just saying, okay, it's here, but it doesn't mean I need to dwell on that thought. I can decide to move on
Yeah.
and
So,
change my
so
I'm
this
adding
is
you. Yeah,
this is where
I'm,
this is
yeah.
this is where we disagree, Marion, because and bring out some dukes here. My research in 25 years has proven that people can change negative thoughts into positive ones. We need to teach the cells in our body how to think positively. And I can give you report after report after report from all of my clients who have actually switched their negative thoughts into positive ones. And we need to do that. Because if we sit with those negative thoughts, for example, cancer is an emotional disease. If we keep thinking negatively, we're going to get that cancer.
I didn't suggest that we cannot change negative thoughts into positive thoughts. What I am saying is, I don't think there's anybody who has never a negative thought. Now,
okay.
when the negative thought comes, if we decide, do we turn that into positive thoughts, or are we going to start dwelling on the negative thought, which then turns into negative thinking? So that was my point. Of course, you know, you can negative thinking, you can look at any situation and any circumstance, and that has helped me many, many times. Like even just looking at that negative thought, how can I turn that into positive? How can I change my story? How can I use the same experience, the same situation, the same set of circumstances that have happened, make it turn it from a negative story into a positive story? You can do that with pretty much anything.
Yes, very good. That's awesome. So great discussion,
You know,
guys.
one point I'm adding you in my learning experience when I have very tough time in my business. So my one of uncle, he's a very big businessman. So one day I went there. So he said, whenever tough time comes in your life, you always use strength, every team member, every family member, not use blame game. Otherwise, you will lose your business, you lose your home, everything. You use that tough situation, every person's strength, then you immediately look forward and very fast. So that thing
Wow.
I always in my mind, always.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great
That's a great
discussion.
one.
Great ideas. Thank
Wonderful.
you. Thank you for enjoying this conversation with me today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Can anybody out there hear me? Hear me?